this stage, I think it's good to stop and to ask Jacques to continue on this note, to give us a little bit more of his practical experience in working with AI in manufacturing. Over to you.
Yes, can I share my screen as well?
You should be able to share.
I see it. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, there's so many things that resonate in terms of what you're saying there. I'm going to try and comment on that quickly in my presentation as well. So let me just, here we go. Okay, so very briefly, what I want to, obviously the focus here is on manufacturing. So I think what's also relevant, I just last year, and I will just share a few things here. I did a keynote at the MIIA International, which is the Manufacturing Enterprise Solutions Association. And it was about making manufacturing great again. It's about the rise of Phoenix. That was kind of the theme last year. And I was specifically talking about operational AI to help manufacturing businesses thrive. And I was referencing some of the specific things. So what I want to do here is just to talk about specific examples and also my own business. We're also involved in that, although the focus is right now on health and financial wellness and building these digital platforms that Wim was talking about. So I'll mention a little bit about that. But my previous AI company that I sold to General Electric in 2011 was absolutely focused on the manufacturing mining industry, and we've developed software, minerals, metals mining, or AI engine for the minerals, metals mining manufacturing industry that we sold globally. Across the globe, and we provided solutions around that. And I'll share a bit of those examples as well. So in this particular presentation, I was kind of highlighting, this is just my massive transformative purpose around how to shape a better future in the smart technology era. That's why I'm also writing this book on democratizing AI to benefit everyone. And I will quickly reference some of the things that's happening in Africa that's really tied with that mission, that massive transformative purpose. And I also agree with them in terms of he's talking about, is there really a fourth industrial revolution? I call it the smart technology era. It's really part of the digital revolution. I do comment about this quite a bit and give perspectives and do some sense making around this topic in the book as well. But the one thing is for sure, the speed of technology change in a lot of instances is exponential. And a lot of the things that Wim mentioned there in terms of all those little building blocks that you can put together to actually very quickly leapfrog and provide solutions and disrupt industries. All of that is available, and it's opening the doors for everyone in the world, but definitely in Africa as well. And it's really the fusion of these smart technologies that allows you to do very powerful things. So it's about creativity. Do you have knowledge about this smart technology toolbox, how to apply it, how to use it? But we are democratizing that. There's lots of examples of that. So I'm quite excited about what can be done in this regard. I'm just going to go, this is just talking about the smart technology era and AI as exponential technology within this. As we instrument the world, as we generate more data, obviously we are providing more opportunities for AI and smart technology to actually unlock value, and specifically business value, but also societal value. And I talk about this also in the book. Specifically in terms of Cortex, and what I want to just quickly reference, this is my AI company, next generation AI company that's really, it's got an AI engine for business, but we've focused this whole thing now on financial, building a scalable digital platform for health and financial wellness. I'll just mention that briefly, but I want to focus on the manufacturing side for now. So I'll show some examples. So the way we're looking at this, so basically, if you think about AI technologies and solutions in general, there's the customer-facing world. And Wim talked about recommendation engines and the personalization that you do, all these customer services. We think about the retail sector in terms of what Amazon is doing, Netflix is doing, all of that. So there's the personalization and that engagement that's happening where AI is applied at large scale. But then on the industrial side, the manufacturing side, it's not only that, but it's actually the enhancing and sensing that's happening. So you can build models not only of customer behavior, but also obviously of processes, of assets and so forth. And then you can detect if there's anything going wrong. What is real-time causes for that? You can start optimizing around that. You can build security solutions. But then because of the types of data that we generate, we can do a lot more with geospatial data, audio data, vision, and all of that, and obviously IoT, and all of that provides us with great opportunities to unlock value. And that's exactly what we've done. So I just want to quickly share another slide here that talks about that. This was actually on health wellness, but I want to go to just to this particular slide that shows this. So this is just some of the recent solutions here in South Africa and Africa. And one of them is, that I want to just highlight, is a minerals metals mining solution. And it's typical of the types of solutions that we've provided globally as well. So, but this one specifically, it was one of the biggest companies in the world, mining companies in the world, where we've done AI-driven automation of their mining operations to increase revenue, reduce risk. And we were not only looking at that side, but even looking at the supply chains and modeling that side of it as well, and looking at the impact of COVID-19 on their business from that perspective as well. But on the industrial side, it's really about how can you increase the throughput, the yield, how can you reduce the risk, and that's a huge application area. What I want to quickly just go back here to manufacturing. So I just want to quickly show specific examples. So some of the core AI use cases per sector, clearly, if you look at manufacturing, it's around predictive maintenance. And one of the big reasons why General Electric acquired my first AI company was because of their assets. And they're also involved in industrial processes. But we've provided an engine, a solution, an AI solution that allows you to be predictive in terms of maintenance. And you can also look at your asset performance and also your utility optimization. So those are three very important ones. But there's also chemical or manufacturing process that you can start optimize. And the other example, and I will get to that shortly, well, maybe I should just quickly go there. I just want to quickly show this as well. So if you think about any minerals, metals, mining, industrial process, the opportunities are to build models of a process, of a piece of equipment, and then start troubleshooting that. The moment you've got a model, you've got something powerful. You're going to extract knowledge, and you can understand the causes of variation. And if you look at any of these kind of industrial applications, it all has to do with the KPIs. What do you want to control? You don't want runaway temperatures in a furnace, for instance. What is the underlying causes for that? So you want to understand the distribution. You want to understand the causes of variation. You want to then reduce that variation. And then you want to actually improve. You want to then diagnose and then predict and then control and optimize. And this is exactly the same recipe that we've done not only in Africa, but also across the globe in multiple industries, in discrete manufacturing, continuous manufacturing, batch manufacturing, but also in minerals, metals, mining, other types of industries as well. And this kind of little thing here at the bottom also shows some of the things. It's about equipment availability. So that will increase production. You want throughput and quality increase. You want to reduce your risk. So that's typically in terms of process and equipment failure. And you also want to reduce your costs in terms of energy, raw material usage, and so forth. So there's plenty of areas. And these are specific examples where we've increased, we've stabilized the grinder plant. This is like a manufacturing plant. We increased the throughput with 5%. And it was the feed rate going into this grinder was all over the place. You can see the variation. And just by applying machine learning, AI, understanding the process, understanding the causes of variation, you can actually improve that and reduce that variation and then get a better feed rate. And that maximizes throughput. That maximizes, improves the grind quality. It lowers also the energy. So this translates to millions of dollars straight away. And then just piece of equipment. If you think about trucks and all these kind of things, you just want to increase the availability. So this is an example of where we increase it from 70% to 85%. That again translates to millions of dollars. So these are industrial industry examples of where one can make a huge difference. And there's lots of other examples in terms of Sense, the intelligent video analytics for safety monitoring, security monitoring, transport, logistics, mining, and many other types of things where one can add value. I'm not going to go into too much in the interest of time here. Wim, do I have a few minutes still?
Yes, we still do have a few minutes, Jacques.
Okay, great. Because I just wanted to quickly talk, because I can talk more about manufacturing in general and things that one can do to actually generate business value. But I also just want to quickly reference just some of the things that's happening in Africa, just some initiatives. Now, Wim talked about Zindi and stuff, and I'll quickly talk about that. Also, Data Science Nigeria. John talked about ACE. And let me just quickly reference that as well. So I'm just going to skip a few things. So there's incredible AI opportunity for Africa now. It was very interesting, Wim's perspectives there. And it was interesting, John saying in terms of investment, but I think if you look at the stats that Wim has provided there, it's clear there are great investment. Even my own company, we've got some huge investment, and we're also building towards unicorn type of platform businesses. I'm very excited about those kind of things. And we do have some success stories here. For instance, Season Systems that was sold to General Electric. That was a huge early success story in terms of AI. But on the broader scale, it is so that if you compare what's happening in Africa to what's really the money investment happening globally, it is really relatively less. So it's obviously we can do a lot more. So the massive transformative purpose is really around how can we shape that better future, how can we help business and society thrive, and that's what we're building here with AI communities, with the Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa, with Data Science Nigeria, with Zindi, and all these kind of initiatives. So we need to build capacity. Now, in Cortex, we've really focused on I think one of the important things in Africa, apart from the infrastructure, is education is huge. But then also health wellness and financial wellness and the unbanked, and how do you empower people from that perspective. So for us, that is a huge focus. On the MIIA front, it's really about transforming Africa through AI communities. And I just want to quickly, here I mentioned some of the partners, and you'll see Zindi there, and we engage with Swiss Cognitive and various other organizations there. You see Data Science Nigeria. And Wim also talked about the Volkswagen Stichting and what we're doing with AI quality. There's some really fantastic initiatives. I'm not going to go into details here, but I just wanted to make you aware of one of the organizations, MIIA specifically, that's looking at building a collaborative, impactful African AI ecosystem and to help transform Africa. And there's many things that one can do, and there's many other organizations that's helping with this. So we're just trying to support that as well. Like, well, we are very actively involved in supporting ACE in Kenya, for instance, and Data Science Nigeria. But there's in Ghana great activities. There's in other communities also great stuff going on. But we do have opportunities to also disrupt the way you actually certify and accredit AI-related skills and so forth. So we've got some very specific ideas in terms of that, and growing the community, and also helping to validate and advise on ethical, robust, and trustworthy AI. There's lots of stuff on that, but how do you make it real and practical for real-world implementations as well? So we are applying this in our own business, but what's happening with other businesses. Now, ACE is an example of a smart technology center of excellence that was created in Kenya recently. That's obviously supported by MIIA as well. And we need more of these kind of things to build capacity. So anyway, I'm not going to go into much more detail there. There's some very specific goals associated with that. And I just wanted to show a little bit of the ecosystem, and I just want to reference one or two things just to show you some of the things that's happening to build that capacity and infrastructure. So here you can see Data Science Nigeria that I've mentioned, Zindi that was that Wim talked about, but Google has invested quite a bit as well with the Google Deep Learning Indaba. So even as from a Cortex perspective, we've invested also in some of the local Google Learning Indaba events. But this thing is an African-wide thing, and it's amazing what Google helped to do here with Deep Learning Indaba. So I encourage you to look at Indaba X with Deep Learning Indaba to see what's going on there. But there's also obviously a bunch of universities that's getting the act together now in terms of AI, machine learning, providing courses, even Stellenbosch University, where I was affiliated with them as well. And they've been doing some great stuff, University of Cape Town, University of Johannesburg, Pretoria. There's a bunch, and WITS as well. WITS VIT is actually also linked to CIRIS, which is AI Africa Initiative, and I'll just talk quickly about that. But there's a bunch of tech hubs, incubators in Africa, which is very exciting, and it's happening across the continent. So I just want to quickly mention CIRIS as well. So CIRIS is a whole private sector led initiative that brings together academia. We've got Stellenbosch and we've got WITS and a few universities in Africa involved with this as well, but also industry. And the aim is to build world-class AI research and application capability and to enable this kind of transformation in scientific research and commercialization. So this is the aim here. And it consists of a cooperation program, the state-of-the-art computing infrastructure that we don't have yet. We've got some computing available here locally, obviously via the cloud. There's quite a bit that's made available. But in terms of local computing infrastructure, this is what CIRIS aims to put in place here. And then open learning, there's also Foundry Fund and Foundry that looks at startups and so forth as well. And there's more details. If you go to CIRIS' website, you will find more details about what's involved here. The other thing I wanted to mention is just Data Science Nigeria. I think they are setting an example of how to build capacity, a data science capacity in Africa. So MIIA initially, a few years ago, started supporting Data Science Nigeria. I was spending personally some time there, doing some boot camps, speaking at some conferences. And here is Bayo Underkanvi. He's the Chief Transformation Officer of MTN, and he was the inspirational guy behind Data Science Nigeria. But now it's a whole community. And it's just awesome, the example that they are setting. So you can go to Data Science Nigeria to see what's happening there, their vision, the platforms that they're building, and so forth. I'm not going to talk more about Zindi, but Zindi, I'm very excited about this. MIIA has also supported Zindi and also with VIMS and the whole collaboration. This has been a fantastic success story for Africa as well. And I think I would probably want to stop there. The rest of it is a bit more specific ideas that I had proposed 4 or 5 years ago in terms of smart technology, centers of excellence, how to build this capacity and how to actually grow this. It's actually a fourth industrial revolution, or say smart technology era entrepreneurship ecosystem, and how can you link it with universities, and how you can actually create this mesh structured network of collaboration across Africa and beyond. Anyway, so lots of stuff on that regard. I think I'm probably going to end there. I do have more things to obviously talk about, but Wim, I don't know if there's any questions on both our presentations.
Thank you very much, Jacques. Yes, I think we still have about 15 minutes in this session that I think and we can use that for questions and answers. And maybe if some of the questions you can refer back to your slides. But thank you very much, Jacques, and also thank you again to the audience for listening to us. So as mentioned, we do have some time for discussion. So if there are any questions, Jacques and I would be very happy to try and answer them.
Yeah, very, very fascinating contribution. A lot is happening and much more can be expected, I think. Now, you continuously mention a few hub countries or hub areas where this is happening. In South Africa, it's Kenya, it's Rwanda, it's Nigeria. You never mentioned the links with North Africa, and particularly what's happening in Morocco. Are there any connections between these hubs in the parts of Africa you mentioned and the developments in the north? And what else is happening elsewhere in Africa, particularly in the university setup in the rest of Africa?
I can maybe just quickly comment. So Morocco, there's some really good stuff happening there as well. As a matter of fact, at the Data Science Nigeria event, I was there, but there was also an AI company from Morocco that was there and doing some great work. So at least that the support of Data Science Nigeria brought kind of North Africa and Southern Africa together. So we were exposed to what they are doing and so forth. But Tony, I agree. I think we can do a lot more to connect better, to work, to collaborate more better. I think it's very early days in terms of this still, and incredible opportunities to work better together. I think there's a natural inclination between Southern Africa, Western Africa, and Eastern Africa. There's definitely a link, and but we are missing kind of that Northern Africa thing. So a connection. So we can do more in that regard. Wim, I don't know if you want to comment.
No, I agree with you, and I also agree with Ton's observation. I think that there is that we see also in the current trade groupings. There's a natural type of already, because there are already trade links and business links between different regions of Africa, and we know that. For historical reasons, for instance, East Africa and West Africa have not been so strongly connected. Also the roads. If you want to take a shipping container from Kenya to Nigeria, you take it by sea around Cape Town. You don't take it by road directly from Kenya to Nigeria. That's the old example, and similar for the Sahel and the Sahara. Deconnecting the Northern African countries. But I think these things are changing. As Jacques mentioned, there are already activities. I also know that in Tunisia. And Southern Africa and South Africa, there are increasing collaborations on, for instance, in trade, big data. So I've been involved in one exercise with Tunisia and South Africa where we looked at the big data in terms of trade and logistics, because Tunisia is actually, in terms of distance, very well located towards big markets in Europe and the Middle East and North Africa. So yes, these type of activities, I think, are important to continue to develop.
And my question about the universities, because what you see is that the number of universities is increasing rapidly. There's also a great rise of the number of private universities. And can you see that the attention for machine learning, for AI, etc., in universities is more now a matter of the private universities taking it up? Or can you see that the established universities or the newer public universities also take this on?
I think it's my experience so far. It's been very selective where they take it on. And it was kind of, for me, I would expect that even Stellenbosch University or University of Cape Town to be kind of more at the forefront, but they are getting the act together. There's a School of Data Science and Computational Thinking that was launched last year. I was there at the launch and event. And they do have some postgrad courses in AI, machine learning, and so forth. From a MIIA side, we're also supporting that heavily. But you're absolutely right. One of the reasons I founded the Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa was because there was nothing happening. What's going on here? And you can see the world this whole decade that we've just been past. You see incredible explosion. You see all this wonderful stuff happening. Where's the research? Where is the applications? But it's almost like I think things have woken up a little bit. So I see definitely an upward curve, but we can accelerate that. We should do more. It's huge gap, Tom. I think you're so right. It's, but at least for me, it's just good to see the positive things, but it's very selective. And there also a little bit of collaboration. Also with we are also partnered with the Nelson Mandela Institute in Kenya that obviously via John's connections there. So I'm very much linked with him as well on that front, but I still feel it's more kind of local. Even in South Africa, I don't see super collaboration as well. So I think we're our own biggest enemies. We should think about the bigger picture here and see what we can do and how can we build capacity and learn from one another and move forward. But anyway, I'm talking about this kind of thing in the book as well. I think we got to think about the big picture thinking here.
I think there are to add, Jacques, to Ton's question also about universities. I think yes, Ton, the universities should be investing more in STEM type of education and training. That is a big need, and that is not forthcoming as it is, and that is why we see that the private sector is providing a lot of the most cutting-edge activities in AI in Africa. We have actually seen that with the mobile phone revolution as well. The fixed landlines was bypassed by the private mobile phone industry because the governments just couldn't get their act in order to distribute fixed landlines fast enough. There was too much, you needed permissions to do any innovations, and any investments in fixed landlines was just too difficult to do. But the gap in terms of regulation existed in mobile, and the private sector just took it and continued. And I think we see a little bit of that indeed taking place in AI now. So I'm really thinking the university should be doing that. I've also tried, from Europe to make linkages between African data centers and African universities and European universities. So, but for some reason, I'm running into walls there. I've tried to get the best data science and AI institutes in the Netherlands to work together with African institutes, and it's not working. And there doesn't seem to be funding available, from the Dutch side, from the government development program as well, especially not in the business of AI. In the Netherlands, there's lots of money available for computer scientists and so on for AI. But if you want to apply that into companies and diffuse the AI, well, there's no real programs available to help that type of diffusion. In fact, if you look at the TRIPS agreement in terms of the agreement in terms of patents and intellectual property and technology, in the Netherlands, the flow of technology in terms of its development cooperation has actually declined. I think, in fact, the last 2 years, the Netherlands didn't even, and I'm talking under correction, but I think at least in 2018, when I looked, it didn't even submitted a report in terms of its TRIPS commitment. So we do see, still a lot of resistance in the advanced economies to actually put their words into actions in terms of helping the diffusion of technology to developing countries. So this is one thing that the universities are grappling with. The other problem from the public point of view, in my view, and Jacques will also add to this, is that the statistical agencies in Africa have not really geared themselves for the big data revolution. I can remember I was the former South African Minister Trevor Manuel appointed me to the Council of Statistics South Africa back in 2005. And this was just when we were on the cusp of the big data revolution, which took place in 2007, 2008, the launch of the Apple iPhone, YouTube, etc. And we were already at that stage grappling with the fact that the budgets of statistical agencies were being slashed. And they were still doing things in the old-fashioned way. They were sending out, enumerators with questionnaires to houses and getting information, not from scanners and from digital sources, but from really old sources. And this, I think, should also change, because fundamentally, if you want to drive the AI also in universities, if you have this public data available, that would really support the researchers to do something from that. So we do have this public, type of challenges that would make it a lot better, as John said, to overcome the skills and data gaps.
Can I say something? I can't find the hand button.
Okay, and then I'll come back to Madeleine. Doreen?
Yeah, well, Marie-Louise and I are both from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Of course, I joined as a private researcher. I want to state that very clearly. But it's true that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is now catching up on all the digital developments and how we should implement that in foreign politics, also geopolitical consequences, the trade consequences, and the whole idea of development and digitalization. So there is a strategic part of the ministry who is really closely looking into that currently, and they're also bringing that up to the senior management of the ministry. And of course, one of the conclusions is that the whole of government is still not prepared. We don't really have a focal point on high tech and digitalization within the entire government. So even in the Netherlands itself, we are struggling with it. And I think Marie-Louise knows more about how to apply it more in development cooperation work. I do think there was a big grant to Mirjam de Bruin on ICT in Africa. So there are some research fundings from the Dutch government, but it's true that we're still catching up, and even though we have a lot of strategy papers now, we're still not entirely sure how we're going to implement that in all our different policy areas.
Okay.
Maybe Marie wants to say something about that.
Madeleine, your hand was up.
Yeah, hello. I'm actually Sabato. I'm the brother, okay. But that's fine. It's just the wrong name there. Yeah, I'm Sabato. I'm a bachelor student in Austria for artificial intelligence. And my dad is actually from the Ivory Coast, so I have family there. And I keep getting questions about, hello, can you help me to study IT or artificial intelligence in Europe? And because you were saying that there are more and more universities and there is a lot happening in Africa, I was wondering if this is really also getting through to the youngers, to the children, because a lot of times I feel like that there is still the feeling that, oh, I have to go to Europe, I have to go to the US to study and to be successful. And I don't feel like there's really it really went through to the youngest of the population that you maybe don't have to go that far, but you just look inside your own country or in your neighboring country, and you might get the education that you're looking for.
Absolutely. I just want to quickly comment on that. If I even look at my son, he's going to go to university now, and just the information that's available on the internet, what Google provides. If you think about AI machine learning stuff, there's some incredible courses. If you go to Google Colab, for instance, or you look at Coursera and so forth. So I think it has been democratized already. You can see in terms of it's accessible, and you don't need to go elsewhere to do this. So are the children aware of it? I think we should actually maybe do a better job of just showing them where all the resources are and what's available. I think there's quite a bit there. So my son is fortunate because I'm guiding and I'm showing him stuff, but how can we democratize that? How can we make that at scale available so that people can have that? But again, if you think about the internet infrastructure, all of that is also important as part of that. So if you don't have access to the internet, you don't have access to knowledge. And the moment you open up that, you remove that barrier, it opens up tremendous opportunities. And that's why it's important from an African perspective. Education, it's so untapped, the potential that's there. We just fix that problem. So just guiding people in terms of where to look, what to do. It's almost like that filtering, and then also the sense making around what's available. And because people spend time on social media and all sorts of other different things, but they can spend the time also on things that's more educational and more uplifting, and then helping building values and character and skills and so forth as well. So I think we should try and emphasize that and bring that into the curriculums, into the schools, so that people see what's available out there. But anyway, it's a gap, it's a problem.
But what I also want to emphasize is we should not. It is important that people travel. It's important for Africa's youth to get out of Africa and travel across the world and be global citizens, right? And learn from the rest of the world. That's the way in which technology and new ideas spread across the world. There's a lot of technology and ideas that are tacit knowledge that you cannot codify and just read a book out to do that. And that is very important. Also the networking. So I encourage African youngsters to go abroad. The important thing is also, over time to go back and plow their knowledge and expertise back into the continent. Now, I just mentioned, in my presentation, Naspers, the biggest digital platform in Africa, who owns, 30% of Tencent, one of the biggest Chinese digital platforms, which created Mnet. How did that happen? Well, I met the CEO at some time, and he told me, well, in the 1970s, he left South Africa to study at Columbia University. He did his MBA in the United States. And there he got the idea. And so he went back and he sold it in South Africa, and he built the biggest digital online platform in Africa. I have many of these stories talking to African entrepreneurs. And what we see at the moment happening as well is that Y Combinator, it's the biggest accelerator in the United States. It's where Airbnb and Uber and Tesla and all these companies got their startup funding from. They are going to Africa now. They have competitions in Africa. They are taking the best and the brightest of entrepreneurs with ideas to Silicon Valley. And then they give them funding and they go back into Africa. So I like these type of things. Now, my worry is that with COVID, there'll be kind of like maybe a deglobalization, and people will say, well, I can stay in Africa and I can study with a university or a school in New Zealand. That's, by the way, happening. I've heard that there are New Zealand schools who are having school children from African countries doing their online international, education, from a school in New Zealand. So we are going to see the digital online learning being cheaper and being more effective, which has the temptation that you can sit in any country in Africa and you can study with international institutions more cheaply than in the past. But I would still encourage, my view is that you still need that personal interaction. So we should not be rolling back, restrictions on travel should not become more stronger. We should actually be more critical about the existence of borders and about the freedom of people to travel across the world. And that government should be competing for high-skilled people, not the other way around. The people should not be serving their governments, but the government should be serving their people.
I absolutely agree. I think a balanced perspective is so important here. And if I even look at myself, a lot of the inspiration and things that I got was traveling internationally, globally and stuff, and plowing back. So that's the story that resonates absolutely. So I agree with that. I think it's all a balance. But what's incredible for me personally, even though I didn't travel a lot last year, well, probably not a lot of people traveled a lot of stuff being cancelled. I think exposure to, if you think about YouTube, you think about podcasts, Clubhouse, for instance, all these new initiatives where you can plug in and listen to some of the greatest minds with just by clicking, going to YouTube, going to, say, Lex Fridman or Joe Rogan, or you go to the intellectual dark web, or do a Clubhouse. Elon Musk was speaking on Clubhouse, and you listen. There's all these kind of initiatives that just opens the door to other people's thoughts, and that is at least a way to learn and see what's happening and kind of be exposed to other thinkings and cultures and so forth as well. But that's not a substitute for traveling and stuff like that. So I think it's a balance, and so I fully agree with you. I know what it meant for me.
Well, I think we have reached the end of the session. We are just past 12 o'clock. So for me, I would like to ask maybe a final round of applause for all the presenters and for the discussion and questions as well. It's been really an honor and a privilege for me, as well as on behalf of Jacques and John. We had the conceptualization of this idea, and we are also very grateful to Ton for also seeing some merit in the ideas that we had to share this on the platform that the African Studies Center offered us. So thank you, Ton. Thank you very much for that. We are very proud and very happy with the conference that has been organized. It would have been fantastic, if we could have done it without COVID in presence, but it's still fantastic the way that it's been organized. There's also tonight, as part of the rich offering of the conference, a movie on Everything Must Fall. Jacques mentioned Wits University today. Tonight you can watch the movie at 8 o'clock and also see how the students are really demanding, their rights and their education. I think very inspirational. It resonates a little bit with what I also see happening with entrepreneurs, just taking the technology and doing things, irrespective of the obstacles that they face. So please do watch the movie tonight if you can make it. Ton, and again to all the speakers, Doreen, Peter, Paul, to all the people who ask questions and make this a very nice and lively session, I thank you all very much. Let's also use this to network afterwards, contact one another via email or whatever, means if there are follow-up questions or information. And also, hopefully, the positive thing from Marie-Louise and Doreen's feedback is maybe we can encourage the Dutch government to do more in terms of the transfer of knowledge in AI and data science to African universities, African schools, and the like. I certainly see this as a priority for Africa's future. So on my side, thank you very much, everybody, and have a nice afternoon. And Jacques, if you want to mention something as well, you can have the final word.
I just want to say thank you, Wim, as well, and thank you for all the participants, for everyone. Yeah, I think it was very enlightening, and it was refreshing, and it was interesting. I found all the presentations very interesting. So thanks very much. This is good. We should do more of this. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye.